Hi and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Rita Borenstein, and that's also the name of my channel. I've chosen Passion for the Soul as my theme, and I share my experience with life between life hypnotherapy here in Sweden. I do sessions, and I also interview guests. Some of my videos are in Swedish and some are in English. And tonight you are my guest, Suzy, and I'm very happy to record this video with you because we just recently spoke and got to know each other a little bit. I heard about you through Pamela Kribbe, who is channeling Yeshua, Mary Magdalene, and also does work with channeling since a long time ago. And I know you help her as a volunteer as myself. And then we got together and spoke the other day, and I found talking to you so nice and fascinating. So would you like to introduce yourself a bit first to those of our listeners who never heard about you?
Oh, surely, Rita, thank you so much for having me. So we did have such a warm connection when we spoke the other day. I feel quite humble talking about myself, but just for a little bit of background, I was born in the Midwest of the United States, and just always was thinking about my purpose on earth, even as a child. And my path led me into academia. I became a medical librarian, which I just loved. So I had stacks and stacks of resources to look at whenever I wanted to peer into a new subject outside of medicine. But that yearning for learning also led me into a spiritual stack, if you will. So I was always kind of looking for the meaning of life. But I had a wonderful career being a librarian, helping people, teaching medical students. And then I got quite ill and flew off to Nepal to build a medical library over there. And that experience really steeped me in spirituality. Nothing in Nepal is behind closed doors spiritually. It's all very open. So that really got me in touch with a spiritual opening, I would say, that happened there. And it's just continued to happen. Of course, Pamela's channelings were instrumental in my opening to a new kind of spirituality, because I was brought up strict Catholic, which in many ways was fine, but in many ways was kind of harsh in my generation. So here I am now in Oregon, retired, and just strongly on my path.
Yes, how lovely. And when we had our chat, I think it was last week, you told me also about your horse. Would you like to?
Oh,
I thought it was very moving how you,
yeah.
when your horse, yeah, what you do together actually.
We do a lot together. Yeah, my horse's name is Secret Halo. So Rumi talks a lot about secrets. In his poetry, he's always mentioning secrets. And my horse came into me with that name, but it resonated with me because I had a secret in my life, a secret trauma that happened to me as a child with a horse. And Rumi says, there is given only to those who hurt so hard that they can't hope.
Oh.
Secret medicine is given to those who hurt so hard they can't hope. And at a time in my life, I didn't have hope. But the secret eventually was revealed to me, and I had a great spiritual healing. And many years after that, this horse came into my life whose name was Secret. So by that time, I was pretty much in the light from the darkness, and it was not lost on me. So Secret is a healer and a connector and a bridge, and we go about our little mission in the old growth forest, meeting people, oftentimes in need, sometimes really hurting, and Secret seems to offer them kind of a form to resonate with, and feel maybe her presence strongly enough to kind of recover. One time we were coming through the forest. It was winter and it was getting dark. It was very misty, and we ran into a young man. I was on her bareback, and I was kind of in an altered state, actually. And we came around a corner, and this man said, it's very from his heart. He said, what is it? Is it a vision? Is it an angel? Is it a spirit? And I think he encapsulated the vibration that she gives off. So yeah, she has really given me a buddy to go through life with, a purpose, and we do a lot of amazing things together.
Yes.
It's a
Yes.
very big blessing.
How wonderful! What a blessing! Yes, before we started to record today, I asked you if you want to talk about something in particular, and you mentioned something that you would like to talk about. Would you like to also share it again with the listeners? What you told me, something like that.
Yeah. Oh, you're so sweet, Rita.
Thank you. The same to you.
I would. I think I'm interested. I'm very, as I look back on my life, I see all the help I got. I see all the intersections where a person showed up, or a book showed up, or an event or a speaker came to town, and I decided to go. And those intersections were very powerful in setting me on a course, just very intuitively. I would feel I need to go here. I need to perhaps call that person. And I'm very curious about how other people on this spiritual path also meet up with particular instances in their life where they can choose to go this way, or they feel the pull this way. And it opens a door for them, or I like to say, it just takes them up a rung on the ladder of awareness. Just how we little light workers feel our way, and sort of intuitively go towards something that we feel magnetized to. And when I look back on my life, there's a myriad of those experiences that I feel, thank goodness, is kind of hurt as I was. My intuition was strong. And I really relied on that instead of my frontal lobe to
Yes.
make decisions.
Yeah, you would know as a medical librarian about the
Yeah,
frontal lobe.
I do know all about that. But oftentimes that lobe is confusing, full of fear, full of smallness, stay safe. And oftentimes your intuition and your, as Pamela and Joshua call it, your heart-based orientation towards life
Right.
is not about that at all. And I remember this would be an example of a good crossroad. I was about to accept a job at Harvard Medical School Library, and I felt very scared about that decision. I didn't feel I was smart enough or good enough or, fill in the blank enough. And I was going to turn the job down. And I walked into my bookstore in St. Louis, Left Bank Books, and I knew the people there very well. And this one fellow met me at the door with the book, The Illuminated Rumi, and put it in my hand and said, Suze, this is a book for you. And Rita, I opened it just randomly, and it said on the page, move, but don't move the way fear makes you move. And I closed the book and I thought, I'm going to Harvard. And I did. Based on that chance meeting with this young man in the bookstore who handed me the answer, literally. So the frontal lobe was saying, you can never do this. You're never going to be successful. Who do you think you are? And then Rumi said, don't let fear stop you, Suzy.
Yes. And would you like to share also a little bit more about when you started at that job then? Because I know you told me a little bit and I found it so fascinating how you went about it, when you came there, and you told me that hardly anyone in the library, right?
Yeah, it was, I loved it there, but coming from a Jesuit medical school in the Midwest, I'm a little Midwesterner. I'm friendly. I'm wide open, helpful. And when I got to my library, it was a very cold place. Nothing really was happening for the users. I was really shocked because usually libraries are center places in medical schools. The students come, there's activities in the library, there's talks, there's warmth, there's a lot of support we give the students because it's a stressful course. So I would go sit at the reference desk and no one was there. No one was coming into the library. And in St. Louis, I had really used David White's book, The Awakened Heart, for permission to bring soul and spirit into the workplace. That book was seminal in my kind of crafting the kind of atmosphere I wanted to provide for patrons and students at our medical library. So when I got to Harvard, there was no soul. There was a lot of IQ. These are really brilliant, genius people there, but the stress and everything there just sort of locked down the heart and the soul. So I put a big poster of my cat on my door, a big, beautiful poster of my orange and white Scottish fold. And one of my beautiful staff members who had been there for 30 some years said, oh, Suze, you can't put that poster up. And I said, well, why would that be? And he said, well, this is Harvard and we just don't do that. And I said, well, darling, if you look around, there's no one in the library.
I love your darling.
Yeah.
Calling him.
Well, that's a Midwestern thing. My mom and aunts
Darling.
always called us that. So I call everyone that. But so I said, let's just see how this works. Let's just give it a chance. And pretty soon, trickles of students would come in my door, and ask about this cat. But then I had them in my office and they would say, and by the way, I need help on such and such topic, and I would help them. So the people trundling into my office grew, and this man came and said, do you ever think I could put pictures of my family up in my office? And I said, oh, absolutely, do that, go ahead. And then pretty soon people were trundling into his office. And then another staff member who was Indian wanted to decorate her office in Hindu style. And I said, go right ahead. And then she started having people who related to that go to her for help. So pretty soon, people started coming in the library, just word of mouth, that things had shifted, that there's nice people there who want to help, who are open and warm and friendly. And in 9 months, we had really turned the library around.
Amazing story, Suzy.
And it just, as I told you before, I'm not the smartest person in the world, but I think.
How do you know?
Well, I think the heart-based approach, I had the skill by then, I did, but the heart-based approach, the soul-based approach, worked. And then once we got, the news traveled pretty fast there, and I started teaching a Medline course, and after 9 months of teaching that little class, the head of the curriculum committee called and said, what are you doing over there with my students at night over in the library? And I said, I'm just teaching a class. And he said, well, can I come? And I said, of course you can come, darling, come. And that was a real turning point.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So kindness, compassion, caring, and seeing into people, not just their shell, not just the outer layer, but really connecting with them every single time you have an interaction.
Yes.
I think people really are dying to be seen, Rita.
Yeah, I think so too. Yes, for sure. And that's a wonderful story you're telling me, because for all those, it's like ripples on water, actually, that this kind of warmth spreads then, and
yes,
it's a great
it
learning.
really was. Yeah, it really was a rippling out. And we eventually then started teaching in the dental school and the School of Public Health. And we set up a meditation class. We started having fun at the library, which, that old reputation of it being quiet and the librarians are kind of crotchety and, they fine you and all of that. That went out the window.
Yes.
But when you start bringing life and vitality and really going the extra mile for people, the reward is much bigger than what you're doing yourself.
Yes, and it's reciprocal too. The giving out and receiving is kind of becomes like a fountain. So it's fun to work also for those who work in a library like that with you, but the same thing in a cafe or wherever. If someone is like that, it will spread. Yes, people will come from far away to have coffee in that particular place, I believe.
I think I told you I
Yes.
brought that cat in on Friday. My wonderful boss and mentor said, "That's fine, Suzy, just don't advertise it too much." But I would put a little sign in my window of my office saying Zeke
Yes.
is in. And the students on Fridays would just flock into the office and hold
Mm.
him. And, you know, it's pet therapy, right?
It
It's having
is,
an animal
yes. Yes,
in your
yes.
midst
We have
that
a cafe here in Stockholm with it's called a cat cafe, but you can meet cats there while you have coffee, and it's a
really
great idea. I think they're very
it is
successful. Yes. Um,
definitely.
yeah.
Yeah.
So how wonderful to share all this with us. I remember also there were many things you said that I remember, although it wasn't long ago we spoke, but not always things kind of stick to me. But you also said, as far as I remember, that when you work with these channelings by Yeshua, you somehow come into this kind of energy. And when you, I think you told me you went out biking and you were sending kisses to the drivers or something like that. You can tell the story much better. But I thought it was quite amusing because sometimes when I'm in a little bit lousy mood, I think it would be nice if someone would send kisses to me from a
Yes.
bike
Yes.
bike.
Right.
Yeah, how does it work
I
for you,
think
this thing?
yeah, when I work on the channelings for Pamela, and I'm just transcribing the audio into print, but I'm steeped in it. And I have been steeped in the channelings before they asked me to do this for them, which was such an honor. But I've noticed in the morning, I don't leave the house without meditation and without prayer, without reading my spiritual stuff. It goes along with having coffee. So I cannot leave the house without filling my energy field with really high thinking, especially now with what's happening in Israel and Ukraine. We need to really, I guess I need to really get myself full of love and high thinking when I go out the front door.
Yes.
And it seems like when on certain days when maybe I'm feeling a little low, I will bike, and I'm at a busy intersection where I have a stop sign and cars are going. And oftentimes, I can't tell you, almost daily, this one time, a big truck just slammed its brakes on and motioned for me to go across. And I looked to the left, and this car stopped to let me go across this busy street. And I was so elated inside for the act of kindness that I started going, and I just very naturally started blowing them kisses. I imagine in my heart I was calling them darling too. But
For sure.
but the trucker stepped out of his door onto the running board and threw me kisses back.
Yes.
And after that, I was hooked on throwing kisses if anyone gave me any kind of kindness on the bike, because it's dangerous out there, you know.
Yes, yes.
But
Same
it
kind of
makes
thing.
me feel so good.
Yes.
And then I can look through the glass or the windshield and see them laughing, throwing
Yes.
kisses and laughing. So, it's any kind of kindness
Mm.
is, I think, magnified too when we accept the kindness and name it and then give the kindness back.
Right. It's contagious
It is
in that
contagious.
sense. Yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes I say I want to be kind. I'm not always kind, but I want to be kind. But uh, last week we had some problem in this house with heating, and my
Oh,
landlord is a wonderful man, and he had fixed someone to
oh,
come here. We had a little cold, and my daughter is here now, and then this young guy came and he fixed it. And I told him before leaving, I said, "You've just made two women really happy." So
really?
okay,
For sure.
I didn't know what to say. That was a little bit too much, maybe, there's many ways to make women happy, of course.
Yes,
But
there are.
I think it's easily happened to say something that is not that kind, and better
Yeah,
maybe to say nothing then.
yeah, yeah.
But
Everybody, especially now, we know are carrying such heaviness with the wars and
mm,
our situation in the world, but I really feel we can change the vibration with small things.
mm,
Mother Teresa said, you know, if you can't always do huge things, but every small act of love and kindness changes the
that's
world. And
right.
I truly believe that.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
the kisses don't stop at the intersection. They keep rippling out
Mm.
across the globe, I feel.
Yes, 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 and we don't need any proof, I think, anymore. It works like that with the Maharishi effect. If you, I don't know, you have probably heard about it, but people praying in
Yes,
places that crime rates and other
right.
phenomena like that go down. Only contemporary, it goes up again when people stop praying. But always there's been monks and nuns spending their
Yes,
lives praying, and but I think there's a lot of uh, phenomena like that, which is very
right.
uplifting. That is really means something, and we have proof every day in case we start practicing.
Yeah, it's
Yes,
fun to practice.
it's fun to practice. What else can you do? I mean, I call all my life
Yeah,
for practicing. It's always practicing.
right.
Yes.
But I think after a while, when we're steeped in it and really are living it and remember it throughout our whole day,
Yeah.
the practice is, like a ballet dancer practices. And on the night of the performance, they are just pure being.
Yes.
you know it's all within them, and all they do is show up, and it is just going to flow out
Mm.
of them.
Yes.
And I like to think that at 77 I can be the ballerina on the stage without thinking. I can
Yes.
just do it. Not
Yes.
all the time, believe me, but
Yes.
more and more as we practice, it just becomes the modus operandi of getting
Mm.
through the day
Right.
and
Yes.
remembering that we are divine
For
and we
sure. Yes.
create our own
Yes.
reality,
Yes.
you
That's
know.
so wonderful. It's wonderful to be reminded always, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's wonderful to listen, Susie, and I'd like to continue our talk, but I think it's time now to
Yes.
conclude or to is there anything you want to share with the listeners? Maybe something you of all your wisdom that you, I know you're a wisdom, you carry a lot of
Oh,
wisdom, but for those maybe who uh well wondering what am I doing here, or where am I
right,
going?
right.
I mean, it's hard to say anything in general, of course, but I'm sure
Yeah.
just your presence helps, at least
I
for
think
me.
that is such a beautiful question to end on. Why are we here, and how do we find out how we're here?
Mm,
how does that process work? But I
mm,
think one thing I would really just like to remind people of is just always to tune in to the still, quiet voice.
mm,
That still, quiet voice that does get drowned out by the ego and our busyness and our lives here to make a living and raise families, perhaps. But I think if we pause and really try to get in touch with that inner voice that is not going to push to the front, it's going to kind of wait for us to give it a space.
That's right.
And let that voice have a place at the table, because that is who we really are. That soul voice, the spirit voice, is really who we are. And once we're in touch with that, that experience expands and expands and expands, and it will show you your purpose in life. It will lead you to your purpose in life. So that might be something for the end, the exclamation point.
Yes, yes. That's wonderful. Yeah, so thank you, Suzy. It's wonderful. I hope we will keep in touch. And now, when I found you, I won't let you go.
I'm not going to let you go, Rita.
But
Never.
we're interested in this work by Pamela Cribb and also Garrett Keelan, who I interviewed earlier in one of the videos about the lost boys. And
yes.
I think what we might have in common is a curiosity for life and to learn more and to also share with others from our own experience, which might be helpful, or we don't know, but we can still share it.
Yes.
And
I think so.
Yeah, so in a link below, or in the information below this video, we will share some information about you. And so so if anybody wants to get in touch with you, I will tell them to contact me first.
Surely. That would be lovely.
You. Maybe there's a librarian out there who
maybe. Maybe I'll hear from Harvard. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe Harvard. But yes, always when I want to conclude, my inspiration starts all over again. But I just would like to share with you and the listeners that when I do these Life Between Life sessions, the client in deep hypnosis and arriving in soul home after a long journey from dying in a past life, they quite often find themselves in a library, which is a kind of records or books of life, the book of life or something like that.
Right.
So I find the library in general and librarians very, very interesting people and places, because who knows,
well, thank you.
Symbolically what can be found there. So it's fascinating all this wisdom in the books.
Right. Yes. Well, thank you so much, Rita, for this lovely
thank you all who listened.
meeting.
Yes, thank you. We thank each other. Sorry to interrupt you.
I'll blow you some kisses.
Yes, I'll blow you some kisses too, and to everybody who listened. Bye-bye.
Everybody.
Thank you for listening.